I've got this theory, people are like, music's great, music's for everybody, music brings people together. It just irritates me for the larger part.
Hello and welcome to White Centipede Noise Podcast. I'm Oscar Brummel, and today my guest is Steve Underwood, an international legend in underground music. He ran the eclectic UK-based label Harbinger Sound, managed numerous bands, and has been responsible for many unforgettable live events. Now he resides in the town of Hastings, where he runs a record shop called Pressing Matters, and continues his involvement in the culture. White Centipede Noise Podcast is made possible by your support via Patreon. Go to patreon.com/White Centipede Noise to support, and stay tuned to hear about the exclusive benefits and bonus content available with this episode. Steve?
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining me at White Centipede Noise headquarters.
My pleasure.
And talking with me for the podcast today. It's rare that I get to interview people in person. So far, it's my wish to eventually be doing that much more often, but I'm usually just doing it on, the equivalent of a Zoom call. So it's really great to be able to.
I'm a bit of card here, so we just talk to each other through the card.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's like a screen split.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah, exactly.
Here's that.
For editing purposes, I might do some green screen stuff so that I can cut one of us out and replace it with someone more.
On which side?
I don't know. You are Steve Underwood. You run Harbinger Sound. Ran. You ran Harbinger Sound, a very important label from the UK.
It's now dead. It's lying in a shallow roadside ditch somewhere, unloved and unwanted.
Unwanted, not. That's for sure. We're going to get to that, as why that. We're just going to talk about the label. Hopefully you can tell me about the history of the label and from the beginning, kind of, and through its history. I have a lot of questions about it and kind of where it's at now, or what its story. So we were talking just a moment ago, and you described it. You described it as you've never thought of it as a noise label, but a punk label.
Always a punk label, yeah. I kind of guess that's simply because the labels I grew up with, that I enjoyed the most, the really diverse ones, had a weird aesthetic, and I just always viewed it as like just punk. Yeah. Not punk rock, nothing as straightforward as that. But labels like the Recluse organisation out of London, Happy Squid out of Los Angeles, I think I had numerous other small independent labels that had a pretty broad range of sounds, but very much their own sort of thing. And so even though there was noise artists and stuff, I still think something like Evil Moisture is more punk than most punks. Whether like Bolus would agree with that, I don't know. Sure, he probably wouldn't. I don't know, but I just see that as more of a punk thing. Yeah, and a lot of the noise stuff, again, it's just punk taken to some sort of logical. Yeah, it should be, as opposed to some boring 3-chord rock, right? Which I also enjoy as well. Don't get me wrong. But,
what is your definition of punk then in that case?
Just do what you want, without any sort of fear or constraint of being accepted, being noticed, even if nobody cares, just be true to yourself, wherever you are at that point in time, that point of your timeline, your trajectory or whatever, just be true to yourself. And I think for the large part, I have been. I've done stuff where I'm like, I kind of look back and think, maybe I shouldn't have done that. I kind of think that's not really what I was about. And I kind of think it's like 3 or 4 phases of Harbinger stuff. And I've got like no great definition. I just know in my head, that it's like, okay, this is real. This is
In those phases,
It's sincere to myself.
Yeah. In those phases that you mentioned where you don't think you were maybe following that 100%, what do you think you were following? Or why do you look back on that and think of it that way?
Just because I put like the Harbinger thing, there was never any like the catalogue numbers. They don't follow in sequence. There's bigger missions. Stuff was normally penciled in, but my life for the larger part over the past sort of 25 years or whatever has been pretty sort of chaotic from a domestic standpoint, from a financial standpoint, or whatever. So it just never flowed as it should have done. And so there's points where I was busier then than I was later on, and then I was busy again. Then I was really busy. Then I was really lazy, or whatever. So it's all these.
Yeah.
It's quite patchy.
Yeah. Sure.
And I think the label's output kind of reflects that.
But it reflects your life.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty true to how my life's been. If I look back, if I saw a list of the releases, I would think, oh shit, that's when that was happening. Oh Christ, that was. Oh shit, really?
Yeah.
So there's all these, periods of time. But I mean, given it's like whatever amount of years it is, it's quite a big chunk of my adult life.
You mentioned 4 different kind of phases.
No, I think I'm not going to distinct in my sort of memory and looking back at these things. I think that was that period. That's when I was more into doing this. That's when I was more into touring. That's when I was more into or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think the release schedule's been pretty true to my tastes and where I was at that particular time.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of records I think, oh, maybe I shouldn't have really released that. And there's a couple of records where I kind of think, oh, I really should have chased that one up. Or, so it's all quiet.
Sure.
Across the board.
Yeah. Your first releases, though, as far as I know, were very much noise oriented.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, the first, through that Pain Jerk.
Yeah.
I ended up with a copy of the Spitfire cassette.
Yeah.
I actually think Roncoe himself, and I just thought this is like too, this is fucking it's wasted on a cassette.
Yeah.
I mean, I had no problem with cassette calls. I sort of, in the 80s, I was the guy writing off of things, so, I had no problem with cassettes, but I thought this was just too good to be left on a cassette. It needed a bigger audience, and this was maybe 96, maybe, which is kind of late. I mean, I've been toying with doing like flexi discs and stuff for a couple of years before that. A couple of like bootleg flexi discs of old like live sets from old punk bands. So I had quite an archive of old like live recordings, and I kind of toying with that. And I just thought I'll put a record out. I knew somebody that had done one. He gave me a quick crash course in how to do it. I mean, I was totally naive, and again, I kind of think that also feeds into the Harbinger history. You can see this is somebody that's not got a great musical background. And so then that just this Pain Jerk thing was just too good to be left on a cassette. But I mean, if I was smart, I would have sat down with a whole Pain Jerk discography and prior to that, because there's such a vast range of
You mean
material.
You would have maybe considered
something else, re-releasing
other stuff?
Yeah. But Spitfire was the one I returned to for some reason. Why I don't know. I just rinsed that cassette a lot, and I had a good dialogue with Coe as well, because he was into the. Again, it's like another guy from like a punk background. I knew the Japanese punk bands. He would mention all the old, not like the D-Beat stuff, but the old punk stuff like the Mirrors or the Starling or whatever. And so we kind of bonded over that.
What was it? I mean, I assume you had a very long history in music, at least as a fan, before that, and mainly punk, in a big way punk. What was it that made you then, like when you decided to release some music?
Well, I mean,
did you have a label before Harbinger?
No.
I want to do this extreme Japanese harsh noise.
No, I just thought, okay, this is somebody that's just upping it a bit, And it wasn't like the punk stuff I liked. it's not necessarily punk as in punk rock. It's just more like the post-punk stuff. There's a lot more experimental music, and that fed into, improv, avant-garde stuff, all across the board.
Yeah.
And the stuff I was always drawn to was the more abstract, the more difficult, more the solitary listening experience than a party record, Yeah. And you can look at stuff like Crass Records. They did a couple of great singles like the Anxiety 7-inch, which is just a voice and tape loops. It's very much in what Current 93 would do a few years later, just tape loops and somebody screeching and wailing over the top. And I thought that was fucking incredible, Everybody else wanted the sing-along songs. I was like, no, this is the better one.
Yeah.
So, it's just stuff like that. And I just grew up with tracking down, looking for, being drawn to these, the more unusual, the more uneasy listening elements of stuff.
The solitary listening thing is an interesting point, and I think that's a very key characteristic of noise, at least in my opinion, but also maybe what I think separates it in some way from punk, because I think of punk also as being very like some sort of communal experience or some sort of movement. I don't know, where I think of noise as really
Yeah, maybe, but
maybe not in contrast, but I think that is a very key element of noise is the and why it lends itself well to records. At least, shows for me and live experience is also important, but I think the real meat of it comes from the records.
Yeah. But I was just always drawn to I like music. I'm not the sort of person that will sit in a room with 5 other guys talking about, oh, check this one out. I'm not interested. Yeah. I'll lock myself in a room, shut the door, and listen to what I want to listen to. I don't need somebody else's opinion or input. It's like, this is good, this is not so good. And that's always how I've been. And I've never liked the idea of scenes and stuff like that. I've always been averse to that because I don't know why. I've just always never been drawn to anything where there might be a group of people who want to sit down.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I've got friends that are into it and are a part of it.
Yeah.
But we never really sit down and talk about it.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about some other nonsense.
Yeah.
Scream and Writhe and Disaster Sources present Initial Shock, Montreal's Noise Fest, taking place from 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. Saturday, July 1st, 2023 at La Sauterenia. The fest features Evic Shen, Neural, Shredded Nerve, Form Hunter, Jute, BP, Toanch Dwelling, Shameful, Skin Tone, En Regard Froid, Reaching Needles, Axiom, Orchid Lodge, MS, and Alter Boa. Tickets are $30 at the door. Advanced tickets are available at initialshock.screamandwrithe.com. All advanced tickets include an entry into a raffle draw to win one of several prizes the night of the fest, plus a Scream and Writhe tote bag. Initial Shock is sponsored by Cheap Thrills, Montreal's longest-running cult record store, Pizza Bouquet, Montreal's finest DIY pizza joint, and Untitled Zine, a Canadian publication of forward-thinking sound and aesthetics. Come to Montreal on July 1st for a big day of noise, highlighting some of the best established and up-and-coming acts from Canada and the USA.
It seems like when you started the label with that first record, at least, you made it seems like there was some sort of conscious decision to make it kind of a more pro label presentation as opposed to kind of like a DIY. For Kendrick, for example, it was on tape.
Yeah.
And he's probably been releasing stuff on tape for many years, maybe some vinyl too, but Harbinger is a very album-oriented label.
It was, yeah. I was a record collector.
Yeah.
I wasn't a tape collector.
Yeah.
I was a record collector, and I just felt that was like the ideal format, and I still think it is. Mm-hmm. Well, like I say, I buy cassettes. Some people think I'm against CDRs or whatever. I'm not. I would still, if it's something interesting, I'll get it.
Yeah.
I still play them. So I'm not for or against anything, but the bottom line is I was a record collector, and I thought, I'm going to do a record label. I'll put out records. I'm not going to be a record label and put out CDRs.
Right.
Well, they obviously weren't around so much back then. But, other people were like putting out CDRs at the time. They had some decent ones like, MSBR were doing like limited CDRs and stuff. There's all sorts of stuff out there, but I just wanted to be a bit more about me.
Yeah.
And that was like
Yeah.
That was me putting an element of me into it, like the first Pager one with its fold-out cover.
Yeah.
That was a deliberate copy of the 100 Flowers Drawing Fire 12-inch, which fold-out sleeve with the two flaps that came down and the record slide inside. And that was a cover that was printed by, what was it? IPR out of California. And they were like a LA sort of like post-punk band. And I just thought it was such a great cover, even though their version was screen printed, mine was just printed. And then I thought for the DIY touch, it was a very conflicted record. For the DIY touch, I'll stick the Xerox on the front cover, and then for the Japanese touch, I put the Obi around it. I mean, I did 500 of those. They're all like stamped. Oh, and then the inner sleeve wasn't even a professional inner sleeve. It was just a large bit of paper. Luckily, I worked in a warehouse and we had a lot of access to people that worked in the print industry, and I could get some really good discounts on things. And so this guy was like coming with 500 large sheets that I had to then slice down, fold by hand, get the Pritt stick out, put them together. Oh, some guy in.
Did you do it by yourself?
All of them by myself.
No team.
No team. Never any team. I'm not a team. I'm not a team player. I just couldn't trust anybody. I wouldn't trust anybody. I probably couldn't even talk anybody into helping me. So, pretty much the whole duration of the Harbinger history is me alone with a Pritt stick and a blade. Sad man in a sad room listening to sad music.
You run a record store right now, and your records, at least in the last years, as far as I know, are distributed through, or were distributed through Cargo and into record stores. Was record store culture a part of, or this mindset a part of kind of how you approached your label in the beginning? I
mean, I wanted the records to be available. It seems pointless. But I mean, don't get me wrong. Again, I did records that were so limited they were just given away to me. I'll come to this in a bit. But the bulk of the albums, I always think albums are the statement from a band, or they should be the statement. So I think as a statement, it should be available. I want to be able to walk into a record shop and think, oh Jesus, this looks good. Or this is the one for me. And I always wanted like proper distribution, and I was lucky enough to get that for a variety of reasons we can come to later. But the idea that you could then have barcodes fitted to everything, they were never printed on the sleeve because I hate barcodes. And I remember the first time I saw a barcode on a record by a band. There was a Smegma album on Tim Kerr, about 88, 87, called Ism, I think it was. And I was mortified that there was a barcode printed on the back cover, because I thought, oh shit, it looks like a product. I mean, Smegma is this legendary improv, bunch of weirdos from Portland, and it's like, why the fuck has it got a barcode on the back? This shouldn't be on it.
But you wanted them to have a barcode later?
But they were never printed.
There were stickers.
There were stickers on the back, So again, it's like a manual, read off a bunch of barcodes.
But that was important for you too also. So you were putting the barcode on it.
So the records could then be sold via online, because most shops just scan the barcode.
Right.
And I wanted somebody to walk into HMV or wherever, something ridiculous. Think, oh wow, consumer electronics, I'll have that. But I would not ever have the barcode printed on a sleeve, because I just found that most non-punk rock.
For sure.
But I wanted the records available everywhere, and that was important.
You mentioned also a couple of these really limited records, and that also stands out in the discography as some lathes. And flexi discs and things like that.
There's all sorts of like weird things. I mean, my personal favourite was the Spoils and Relics 7-inch Turner, which was like dedicated to. The Spoils and Relics were like a local trio up in Nottingham, and they were doing I thought it was some really interesting stuff, and the guy Turner was the guy that ran the local bar/venue, and it's where we put on a lot of the noise shows. We can come to later.
Yeah.
And he was quite the local character. So we had this great photograph of him in the exact same pose as Charles Bukowski on his Hostage album, where he sat drinking a beer against the wall covered in graffiti. So basically, we took this guy Turner out, got a photograph of him drinking.
Yeah.
We did the cover the same font, same text, same colorings.
Yeah.
And it was basically a 7-inch version of the Bukowski album. And this record, I think we did about press 200 or something ridiculous. It was never going to sell more than 10, but that wasn't the point. So the idea was we put this record behind the bar in this venue, and you could only buy it in the bar. And I think we sold like 3 that way.
Over the long term?
Yeah. In the end, we just took the records out and gave them away. And I would chuck them out into orders and stuff.
Okay, so they got out there. They're floating around.
Oh, they're out there. Yeah, they're on Discogs for like £2 or something ridiculous. It's, nobody really wants it. But the original concept was this would be a laugh, an expensive laugh, but still a laugh. And kind of I had visions of people turning up at the venue. Oh, can I have a copy of that? You've got that Turner 7-inch as well. Not realising the guy on the cover and the guy on the record is the guy that runs the bar that's going to probably give you the record. So they were doing just stupid things, really.
Those kind of expensive laughs or projects are really important. Super important.
Yeah, I just thought it was just more interesting than a normal record.
Yeah.
But again, it just reflects my mindset at the time or what I thought was funny at the time.
Yeah.
You asked me to do it now, I'd say no. But
you run from teenagers in parking lots as you're trying to stalk.
5 new releases, 4 reissues, and 2 mixtapes will be available from Reanimated Miscarriage on June 23rd, featuring fresh material by Antipyrean Diverticulum, Gastric Mucosa, and Techno Cadaver, as well as discography releases and restocks from Anal Birth, Crematory Penis, Penis Geyser, Scab Addict, and Violent Shit. Early access is guaranteed by joining Reanimated Miscarriage's mailing list by writing to diseaseofthespirit@gmail.com. Otherwise, everything listed and more will be available at traumateamonline.net.
Sure. What about some of those early... I can't think, I'm forgetting off the top of my head if it's an MSBR or Government Alpha or both, but some of those early lathes, and Mote lathe also.
Yeah. But basically...
They're limited to 20 and stuff like that.
There's less than that in some cases. They were basically just like Pete King lathes, the guy who was doing lathes in New Zealand. I would order 10 or 20 of something. Again, make the sleeves myself. Some have got complete sleeves, some haven't. The first one, and the one I was most proud of, was actually the Third Organ Putrefier one. And I thought that was still the best out of them all. In the end, there was like a couple of lathe cuts, stuff like Culver from Newcastle.
Culver,
I can't even remember at the moment what other ones were, but there's quite a few. And there's supposed to be like an AMK one, which we made 20 copies of. I sent 10 to the guy in California, who was going to destroy them and make the records a double 7-inch with it. It never happened. My fault more than anybody else's. And then the 10 were just given to friends. And the last copy, number 1 of 10, I recently gave to a record shop in London, so I don't even have copies of these things myself anymore.
Damn.
I've sort of got rid of all my copies because.
Why the decision to with such a? I mean, I've never heard them, but like the Third Organ Putrefier, for example, surely fantastic.
No, I mean
the recordings they
are. Yeah,
to make them so limited. Have you ever?
Yeah, on that one in particular, it was Akira had 2 sessions. It was like a live set and the studio set, and then on one side it was like Mark Durgan and Akira when Third Organ and Contagious Orgasm toured the UK in 98, I think it was. We did a tour. to complete zero interest.
To zero interest.
Yeah. Well, I did a gig at the one in 12 in Bradford, and Akira and Mark did a live collaboration, and this is basically a recording of that. I'm sure Mark or Akira have still got the masters for all that. I mean, I certainly don't. But I just thought it was a great set, but it wasn't a major statement by them. You know, I did the third organ album, I did the Putrefier Simulated Vapors album, and they were the more important records. This was more of a laugh, a shelf filler, a thing for friends.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know?
And did you anticipate that these lathes would become highly sought after things?
I would have hung on to them.
Yeah, but I mean, like, and also, I mean, how do you feel about how do you feel about reissues and the current trend of reissuing things on, for example, like, you know, rare limited things being reissued on CDs and
I actually don't mind, to be honest. At first I thought, oh, I've got more fucking reissues. It's endless.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've, as I said earlier, I've sold off a lot of my own private collection in recent times, and I got rid of like the Mondo Brutes tapes. And I'm like, oh shit, they were really good. Why did I get rid of them? So I just ended up buying the CD box set.
Yeah.
And I thought that's fine. I've got the tracks when I need them. It's not every day I sit down and listen to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, one day I might get the urge to listen to Portuguese Man of War and think, shit, where is it? So at least I've got the CD version of it now.
For sure.
So and again, it's like bringing this stuff to new ears as well.
There are generations. I mean, there are generations. I mean, I have a much younger generation. I didn't get any of that stuff when it came out. I spent so much time hearing about it and how important and legendary it was. And I'm really, really happy when someone, instead of saying, oh, but you've got to track down one of those copies limited to 50 and pay $100 for it and blah, blah, blah. I'm really, really happy when someone will put out, you know, those recordings just for the masses.
Yeah.
Because I consider myself the masses. I'm not really like a collector like that. Like, I love that. And I mean, but I understand the intimacy of some records. But I mean, I think like this moment where you had, a really interesting recording for a moment in time for you, Putrefied Third Organ, maybe just seemed like something for friends. Like that moment becomes very, 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 it echoes through time. It becomes very, very important and fascinating for people of generations.
I totally understand that. Yeah, and I wish somebody would. Yeah. Put out more of like I say the early Putrefied stuff or whatever. Well, the early that sort of period. I mean, something it's quite. It's full on.
Yeah.
You know, it's intricate. It's full on. It's interesting.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just somebody going through the motions. It's really.
Yeah.
Some amazing sounds being pulled out of nowhere, basically, by people in the care as well with a good ear for what they were doing.
Yeah.
And it's not just somebody finding the feet with a few pedals. This is somebody that's like knows exactly what this lump of technology can do and what they can do with it.
Exactly. Yeah. Is that something you see as rare in noise music, or?
I don't know. I saw one of your podcasts, I think it was with Sam, the Rita, on about sincerity and stuff, and I just think he made a point about you can tell if somebody's sincere or not, and I think that's spot on. And if sincere to me is might maybe seem insincere to you, you know.
Sure.
But different things for different people, isn't it? But I just thought these guys are good. You know, these guys are genuine, and most of what I'm into, I think, is like sincere stuff. Yeah. I'm not into people who. I'm not going to say copyist because that's really reductionist. It's just somebody finding the feet early on. Yeah. You know, and I'm sure that the noise history is quite a little with people finding the feet, then they're making some really great recordings later on. You know, it's just people who've got a different way of approaching things.
Yeah. Right. I think that's.
Well, I think the sincerity is the important. Thing, and you know, that interview mentioned, I think you can pretty much tell.
You can, for sure. And I've come more in doing the podcast and asking people about their approaches or influences or how they I like to try to get to the why a lot of times of what people do, which is hard to find the questions for. And some people can't really articulate. But I found a number of times when I'm interviewing artists that I consider to be very, very, that I consider to be auteurs or very, very unique in their approach and doing something visionary. When I ask them certain one, like, what's it all about, or how do you? A lot of times, some of them have just been like, I'm just trying to make,
something that they want to listen to.
No, or like I'm just trying to make. This artist.
Okay.
Like I'm just trying to sound like this artist, but with my, I have no idea how they're doing it. I mean, I'm just trying to sound like this random, weird, obscure. Okay. I'm just trying to sound the stuff I like, and what they end up making sounds nothing like it. But I have been kind of surprised sometimes by people who give me that answer.
Yeah. I mean, it's just funny because I've spoken to a couple of people I know who do noise music, and it's about we can just discuss a record. And they're hearing it with very different ears to me.
Absolutely.
They're hearing this bit of technology. They're hearing this pedal. They're hearing...
Yeah.
They're breaking it. I'm just hearing the finished product thinking, I want to smash my head against the wall to this. It's a different...
For sure.
Different ears, isn't it?
Very. And noise is the most, I think, it's a shape-shifting...
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't sit there and dissect... I don't know. A Killer Bug cassette. I wouldn't know what it was using. It's like, overall, this is pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
But, I couldn't think, he's got this, he's got that, he's doing this, he's copying so-and-so.
Right.
I don't care.
You are located in Hastings.
Nowadays, yeah.
And you're from Nottingham. When I kind of put out the information to people that I was going to be interviewing you, I got a lot of people reaching out, particularly folks in the UK.
Okay.
Duncan Harrison, for example, I don't know if you know the fellow, but
I know Duncan, yeah.
He was, just like saying, you've done basically a lot for the UK and noise, and he said what he said was, and that's not even talking about how awesome Harbinger was as label. So he mentioned, some shows you've put on, and
I did a lot.
What are your kind of activities and
do you want the whole CV?
Yeah, but he mentioned he mentioned you putting on some crazy Japanese noise shows in towns where people don't.
Yeah.
He mentioned people don't even care about pub rock is hard to get over.
Yeah. I mean, the first couple of tours I did. I mean, I've been doing shows in around Nottingham, and there was a point where I had enough contacts to go to another town. So I thought, okay, this guy's here from Japan. Let's go up to Newcastle, or let's go to Leeds or wherever. And I was lucky enough to know people, and in London as well.
Were you bringing artists in from Japan? Were you like
no? They were sort of coming over on a holiday, or I mean, like the Third Organ, Contagious Orgasm case. They had an offer of a show in Rostock, northern Germany. Yeah, not too far away, and. They were like, "Oh, we'll come and see you in Nottingham." I'm like, "All right, great. Come in. We'll put a show on. We'll make an evening of it." And that's basically what we did. And then it just happened. Then MSBR came over, and then I thought, "Okay, let's talk. I'll talk to Mike up in Leeds, or somebody in Brighton, or somebody in Bristol, or wherever." Mike Dando. Yeah. And because he was like working with the Termite Club at the time. He had moved from Wolverhampton to Leeds, over to Yorkshire, and was involved quite heavily in that. And we were just like, okay, let's do this. Come up to Leeds, etc., etc. So all of a sudden I've got this little touring circuit, and nobody was really doing that. I mean, I think like To Live and Shave in LA had been in the UK the year before, maybe the year before that, and they've done like 2 shows just for friends. The Shinfoot guys, I think it was Dave and Rudolph. No, sorry, Dave and Joke had been in the UK, and they had done maybe 2 shows. Again, one in London and one for friends in Newcastle. So it wasn't really a touring circuit. It was just going to visit somebody. So I sort of kind of tried to put a touring circuit together, like a regular band would. I just thought it was interesting. In my head, there was interest for it. So you had, like, in Bradford, you had the 1 in 12 club, ran by the Fifth Circuit guys, who were doing They put on White House, they put on Soviet France, but they were willing to go into the Japanese noise route. You had the Termite Club in Leeds, not too far from Bradford, which was basically Mike Dando and a couple of other people. It was a club that was used different venues, so it's just like an umbrella name.
Okay.
And they would mainly do like improv, jazz, free jazz sort of stuff. But again, they would go down the noise route, probably at Mike's, pushing it. And then up in Newcastle, you had a couple of people who were into doing shows. Brighton, you had like Dylan from Pretty Decay at the time had moved down there. He was into putting stuff on. So yeah, there's quite a little circuit there. Then in London as well, there's people willing to do stuff. And I've been working with Gaia Donato in London, Italian woman who lives there.
Anti-Child League?
Yeah. And so we did a couple of shows at the old 121 Centre, which I think Bolus mentioned in his interview he did for you. So we did a couple of shows there, like MSBR, and we had like loads and lots of people playing that night. And I can't even remember what the other show we did there was. But there was more anyway. And then we started using the Windmill, also in Brixton, a small pub that's now like the epicentre of like crap lad rock or something. And we put on stuff as, Machine Gun TV from Japan, Colin Potter, who was working with Nursery Wound at the time. And then Gaia, she found this club, the Red Rose up in Seven Sisters Road, North London. It was basically a Turkish working men's club with a large back room that they put on comedy shows for all like the rising stars of the comedy circuit, fittingly enough. And she just started doing stuff there. And the first show there I was involved with, and then I worked with her on numerous of the shows. She was also doing stuff herself. Yeah. And it became quite a regular sort of spot for people coming in from overseas. But at the same time, I was also, getting in a car or on a bus with.
So you were kind of being the tour manager for people in their
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I drove them around.
Accompany them.
Yeah, we went up all over the place, staying at friends' houses in Bristol or friends' houses in Leeds, or we got a day off there. We went to have a look at took some Japanese guys to see Stonehenge because they wanted to see it. just bullshit like that, but it was fun.
Yeah.
And we did. I say we did a fair bit, and then it just got to a point where, okay, I might do like some sort of festival sort of thing, because I thought there was enough interest, there was enough people doing stuff, and a lot of the people who were doing like mail orders, I was pretty much in touch with, I'm gonna say everybody. I probably wasn't, some major omissions I'm sure, but we just started doing like some other smaller festivals and stuff, and I normally teamed up with somebody else because you couldn't do it all by yourself. I mean, I worked closely with Phil Julian from Cheap Machines on a bunch of stuff, and then, which were like the No Trend festivals, which was sort of like a gentle piss take of the No Fun stuff that Carlos was doing in New York. Yeah. So it's a bit of a, so it was all like these cool Americans, so just have a bunch of pissed up Brits in the basement. Yeah. So no, that's basically what it was. It was a bit like a gentle ribbon, and we kind of did that, and they were like kind of, I'm not going to say legendary, that's stupid, but people still talk fondly of those.
Yeah, I bet they were. I mean, what were? And there's obviously many, but what were the reactions to these types of events? I mean,
the first one was in a basement in St Paul's, where in the City District of London, which basically shuts down at a weekend. It's a ghost town, and Phil found this really crap bar with a small basement, so we did a show there. But on the night, there was like the electric failed, there was a flood, there was everything that could go wrong, and was a potential hazard went wrong. Yeah. And in retrospect, it's hysterical. Yeah. At the time, it was very stressful. Yeah. But it was, we had like, so Phil was involved. People like Lou Young who was helping out as well. So everybody's like roping in to make this thing happen. Yeah. And that was pretty cool. Then the next one became even bigger. We split it over a weekend with 2 venues, and we had yeah, third organ came in again. We had Small Crawl Party come over.
Cool.
And Scott from Chop Shop came along as well. He couldn't play because he didn't have any. He had obviously gear issues. Yeah, so he basically did the sound for like Small Crawl Party and stuff. That was quite a big shame that he couldn't play. But yeah, there was a lot. Then we obviously had like Ram Lucas from Electronics one night. Grunt played. There was supposed to be a 3-way collaboration with Sudden Infant, Evil Moisture, and Putrefy that never happened. For some reason, I think they were all too drunk. Well, everybody was, so it doesn't really matter. And the other night was a bit more sedate.
Yeah.
We had God, I had a lot. Small Crawl Party and a bunch of other people playing. Family Battlesnake, an early thing for Bill Cooligus. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of stuff.
Cool.
But then it got to a point where I started working with more people, and I've been approached to do some bigger sort of events which involved Arts Council money. So we did like, do you want to talk about these now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the first one was like a Los Angeles Free Music Society thing, and basically a guy from the Arts Council had approached Pete Johnson, who was running Second Layer Records up in North London, who I'd been working with on a couple of shows.
Yeah.
So we kind of got together and put this plan together, went back to him and said, okay, we need this money. And I always dislike the idea of taking Arts Council money because I kind of feel it's like imposing something on people. Like, this is culture.
Yeah.
Here it is.
Yeah.
And which is like kind of what I'm against, but I didn't take a penny from any of these events. So, and the money I did take for one of them, I actually used to pay for flights for somebody else for other things. So I'm not, my hands are clean.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we got these like Los Angeles guys, and we got, okay, the obvious connection with the Los Angeles Free Music guys is the guys in Tokyo, in Osaka. So that's where Incapacitants and Haijo Kai and Sakaguchi came from. So yeah, we got those guys. Well, guys, those, I hate fucking saying guys. those
People.
That's where these people, got involved. I mean, I think obviously people like John Duncan were involved.
Yeah.
We got Paul McCarthy because of the extended organ connection. And like that was I think pretty much a great success, even though the sound guys were atrocious. They weren't my.
What you guys?
Yeah, it wasn't. They were nothing to do with me. That's what the Arts Council people had put in, and they weren't at all ready for Haijo Kai. I remember the sound check. Haijo Kai had to play some sort of like strumming, like pretend we're a rock band sort of thing. Because these guys, so when they played, you see the sound guys were shocked.
Yeah.
But
did it work though? Did that trick work?
It worked. It worked a treat.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were like so fucking useless.
Yeah.
And then, but sound guys in London are just kind of notoriously bad. One of the no trend ones, we had a guy at the Old Blue Last. I mean, there's a guy walking around in a fucking cowboy hat. It tells you all you need to know. He just wasn't ready for it. Yeah. And again, it's like, I wish I knew enough people who were sound people at the time to get somebody in that understood a desk.
Yeah.
Make it work.
Did you feel that after a while of setting up shows and kind of establishing the circuit, did you feel like you were growing some sort of network or community or culture of places and sound people and like
maybe.
I assume when you started out it's probably kind of like, well, maybe we're just trying this out, and then
I was kind of living two parallel things, to be honest, which were kind of serving each other. I wanted the Harbinger thing to be, I was in like a record out, I would go try and tour somebody and promote a record or whatever, and that was like the Harbinger thing. And so some people kind of like, oh, can I come on this tour? I'm like, well, no, because you're not, you're not part of that. Yeah. You're not on the label. Yeah. It's nothing personal with anybody. Yeah. It's just like you weren't on the label. Yeah. And so some people were trying to, a couple of people in particular got kind of pissed off that I wouldn't put them on bills and stuff. And it wasn't personal. It was just you weren't on my label. So I'm not here to look after you. Right. Find your own fee. Yeah. But the festival side of it was a bit more obviously for everybody. Obviously, you needed people to come in to make these things work. And and the 3 big ones I was involved with really did work. You know, I mean, apart from the sound issues, we did sort of. Well, the funny thing was after the Los Angeles one, it was like the final night. I was just in the car park outside having a drink, trying to unwind from it all. And I got talking to the guy that basically put all the money up for the Los Angeles event. And he says, "Oh, so what you got lined up next?" I'm like, I think I'll probably do the Shimflut group next. And he's like, "All right then. How much do you think you'll need?" "Oh, really?" And so we that happened a few years. That took a lot of work to put that one together. And there's so many.
I mean, I don't want you to talk actual numbers, but were you able to get enough money from these arts councils where you could like pay the bands like a proper fee?
Absolutely.
There's noise fees, which is usually like $50 or $100, but then there's
That's good.
yeah, but I mean that's good. That's good. I mean, I'm not saying that's bad, but then there's like I think like probably level up when you're you get some sort of proper.
One of the things that there was, it's not much as a fee. It's more there's a budget to work with.
Yeah.
And obviously you get into these budgets. There's travel, there's accommodation. This guy's coming from Japan. He doesn't want to sleep on somebody's floor. He needs a hotel room for 3 nights because he's flying in. He's going to relax. He's going to do a show. Yeah. He's going to relax, and then he's going to go the next day or stay a day and carry on, go somewhere else. Yeah. So each artist was different. Yeah. And there was I think there was a guaranteed fee for pretty much everybody. I mean, a couple of people at the bottom of the bill were like just doing it because I said, "Do you want to come and play this show?" And they're like, "Fuck yeah." Because they were going to play to a few hundred people more than the 5 people they would normally play to in a pub in Leicester or somewhere. And everybody got a fair slice, I think. Nice. But as the budgets were getting eaten into, there was also the point where the sound and music people, the arts council people, were like, "Oh, there's not enough of this as we thought there would be." And the Shimflut thing in particular was having corners cut constantly. And but it happened, and it was a great success, and it's still the thing I think I'm most proud of. Whatever it was an absolute joyous event. The
Shimflut group?
It was absolute carnage. And my best memory of it is going to a meeting afterwards at the venue, the Arnold Feeney in Bristol, which is a big high-end art centre. So we'd all sat around this table, got the production team had come in, the people, and there's the guy that owned the venue was like, "Thanks for such an amazing event, but please don't ever have to do anything here again."
Describe what happened at the.
Oh, I mean, there was so many things. New Blockaders played. Something got thrown from the stage which shouldn't have happened. That was not part of what was supposed to have happened. Vagina Dentata organ played. There was glass smashed everywhere, which again is part of the thing. But I'd underestimated the clean-up afterwards. So we put these sheets down on the stage, thinking we could slide all this glass off. Well, as we slid the glass, it just ripped, and there was glass everywhere. And also there was the smell of fish in the air because someone was being used in the Vagina Dentata organ show, and there's a bit of a reek for quite a while afterwards. And so then the people that ran the place were kind of a bit not pissed off, just a bit. They didn't anticipate such a clean-up. But
they still sound like they genuinely recognized that something.
No, they knew it was a genuine.
There's something important happening.
It wasn't some bullshit thing. It was It was it was a proper art event. We had Alice Kemp hanging around upstairs doing her thing. There was like random actions happening throughout the venue, and I just think it was the most joyous thing. Cool. I mean, there was a couple of things I had issue with. For instance, the Arts Council forced me to put Trevor Wishart on the bill. Who? Trevor Wishart is like some sound. He's been around since the 70s and stuff. I mean, he's a great artist, There's some pretty amazing records over Redbird and stuff like that, some great records.
Yeah.
But it just didn't fit the agenda.
Yeah.
Then he wanted a couple of like Q&A panels and stuff of things that were, again, nothing to do with the Shinflug. They were trying to just impose these conditions. And we were so far down the line with it that we kind of had to go with it. And also Pete from Second Layer, I felt he was being pushed out. Yeah, probably by me as much as, it wasn't deliberate, because the original thing was we're going to try and get like a bunch of American people to come in as well to do this show, because they're all friends with the Shinflug guys and stuff. But in the end, it was just too expensive to get the Americans to come in as well. And there was lots of issues. I think like Daniel mentioned, he had a proper booking agent in the UK who we had to go through to get him. It's like, I'm not going to fuck around going through a booking agent. I just message the guy direct. You know? And there was just stuff like that. So the American side never happened, and Pete really wanted that. And so we got a few UK people, a few European guys to play instead. Who were still fit the bill, but it's more financially viable to do that.
Right.
And but yeah, in retrospect, everything I've done, that's the one thing that I could talk about that all day. So.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's great that you were able to kind of finesse, or at least navigate that system and use it for something good, because that's something I think most people don't know how to do. And
it wasn't me. It was just somebody else that's kind of doing the money side of it.
Yeah.
Like Pete was having conversations with Richard, the sound and music guy. I was having conversations with him as well. We had other people involved who were like along the way.
Yeah.
But basically, I was responsible for like putting the bill together.
Yeah.
And even though it became basically myself, Rudolph, and Joke that put the final bill together, because I was back and forth to Berlin all the time. So I'd meet up with him, and Rudolph would come in from Japan and stay there for a while, and we would sit down and, okay, we need this, we need this, we need this.
Yeah. Well, it's great that you, with some people, were able to put something like that together, because it's abstract, it's hard, and you always have to deal with. I mean, look what mostly gets funded by those things. And look what exists.
Of course.
There's Shinflug group that exist who make extremely potent art. But very, very rarely is that ever going to be amplified or funded, let alone funded by some sort of larger body.
And of course. I mean,
that's not bad, but I mean, like, the ability to do that and get those funds to the right place is an accomplishment.
Yeah, I mean, they were cutting the budget all the time, but it was still managed to get something. I mean, their budgets for opera, for classical music, for performance art, for dancers, dance performance. Those budgets are massive, and they're expensive productions. In all fairness, but that is basically where the money goes. They're not going to give it to some guy that's, I don't know,
puking.
Unfortunately, no.
Yeah. So before we kind of jump back to a little bit more label questions, I have some specific kind of things. It seems to me that you have always, it seems to me that you've operated in a way that's very personal and hands-on. Yeah. As a label, as a as a person involved in this.
It's definitely more as an individual. I've not approached anything until, well, even as later. It's always been hands-on, personal.
Like we were talking about it a little bit beforehand. Like, so much, particularly in this current age. I mean, you're from an older generation, but in this current age, so much of what happens in noise, even when it comes to releasing things by people working together, collaborating, is just email correspondence. DMs. It's even rare. It's even rare. It feels old school and special when people call each other on the phone. I mean, I remember when I was meeting some people and they were like talking about, I got off the phone with so and so. I met with so and so, and we're talking about his record coming up. I was like, whoa, like that's like a business, like, it's like everyone else is just like, hey, I'll put out your thing, send me
the file,
I'll send you the tapes, and send you, and I get the sense that you've been, in the older days that was more common anyway, but you're still one who's like, you're here in Cologne for some reason, visiting people, visiting record stores. You've been here. You seem to you travel around.
I'm here quite frequently.
Yeah. You travel around
Germany in particular. Yeah.
And you visit people that you've worked with.
Yeah.
And you
I still maintain a lot of the friendships and the contacts.
And you follow.
Some I don't, obviously, but
Sure, but like you also follow that. You mentioned you're putting on shows by bands or artists that you've released, and it's like you're consciously promoting records that you have released in a way that sometimes I don't. It just seems like a lot of times people just doing things in kind of a haphazard way, where there's like a really
I mean, I've been fairly haphazard with a lot of stuff. I've been sloppy with a lot of stuff. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've done some stuff where I've totally balls things up. There's been a lot of errors along the way.
I'm sure, but I mean, you like to get you follow through, and I feel like you put a personal relationship.
Yeah, I'm very loyal.
Yeah,
sounds stupid.
No,
but I'm very loyal. If I work with somebody, I'm like, okay, I'm working with this guy. This guy's good. I mean, I wouldn't work with somebody if I thought they were a fucking idiot.
Yeah,
and that's it. I'm a fairly loyal supporter.
Yeah,
I still buy the records or tapes by the people I listen to, or I try to.
Yeah.
I don't actively search down stuff like I used to. My house isn't big enough, but I'm fairly loyal.
Have you ever been bitten or disappointed by loyalty or trying to be loyal?
Well, obviously there's the obvious duo that we can talk about later.
Okay.
But there's.
Or are you good at gauging who you should be loyal to?
I don't know.
Do you ever think about that?
No, I don't know. I just go with my gut feeling at the time, or I'm not looking to make friends.
Yeah.
But so I'm like, it doesn't really matter if there's a great contact there. I'll do this thing. If the friendship, there's a friendship there. If there's not, there's not. And I like to. I mean, I've been a bit harsher the past couple of years. Where I've not burned bridges directly. I've just kind of ran out of patience and steam with keeping up with emails and messengers. I never operated like that. I can't operate like that. I've got no interest in sitting down with a computer for 8 hours. I don't want to work in a fucking office. I don't want to be like, hey, how are you today? Oh, amazing new tape, whatever. It's not that I'm not interested. It's just I haven't got the time. I'd rather be out and about. I'll turn up on your doorstep rather. I'm lucky for you, but
no, that's what I mean. I mean, it's a different kind of, I think, like even just physical engagement that I sense from you, that people who know you personally, like they've met you.
Yeah.
They've.
I'm sure there's people that dislike me or don't like me. I mean, I know there is, but it's like.
Of course.
Most of that stems from, business, for want of a better term, interactions and stuff.
Sure, yeah. Harbinger Sound was a label that when I kind of really stumbled across noise music and fell in love with it very, very quickly in my late teens.
Yeah.
I was very active on the Tronic Sport. I wasn't active, but I was looking at the Tronic Sport all the time, and trading tapes and stuff like that. And when I go back now and look at through most of my record collection is back home in Minneapolis. I didn't bring it with me.
Yeah.
But when I go back and look through like the discogs of Harbinger Sound, I realize all these records that I bought from you or from your label that were huge for me and huge at the time, but I didn't know the previous history of the label so much in like the say like 2007.
Yeah.
And I think because your label is so diverse.
That was kind of not the intentional plan. That's kind of how my tastes are broad. I want the label to reflect that. I want somebody to walk in, oh, that's an Harbinger. I'll take a punt. It might be absolutely horrific, but I'll take a punt on it.
Yeah.
And that I've always been I just wanted the label to reflect that broadness.
Yeah, and for me it's interesting because it was almost the opposite way for me, where I didn't really know. It was only kind of later that I realized that all this stuff was Harbinger, but all these really.
There's records even without the Harbinger name on it. There's a Dieter live album that doesn't.
Yeah.
It's on the insert. It's an absolute minute text, so you need a magnifying glass to read it.
Yeah.
There was one by Techno Mensa's K2 from Japan. Mm-hmm. Without any mention of there's a few where there's no mention at all.
Yeah.
And I like people like myself. I want people to work at finding, discovering things. I don't want you to click a button, woof, there it is. It's like, what's the point of that? Where's the work?
Right.
I've spent 40 odd years buying and hunting records, so I've done the work.
Yeah.
Now, I still do it, but I want other people would hopefully to think the same.
Yeah. Even well, okay, the label's closed now, which I want to ask you about. But even like a couple of years ago when the label was active, you had a website, but it was still like
there's nothing on it.
There's nothing on it, and I'm like, it's an interesting difference. Is like, you have your stuff in record stores. Like, I know your stuff is out there. I know I can, but it's not like I can just go to the website and easily.
No, I didn't want things. I don't like things.
Get it like that.
I don't particularly like things to be easy like that.
Yeah, like they're in record stores and all that stuff. And but back to like when I was like, I remember when the Ramla Awake box set came out. That was huge. That was holy shit. Those other Ramla and Kleistwar 12 inches, the Small Crew Party 3 CD.
Yeah.
Right. I just, as you were talking, remembered that was Harbinger. I mean, so many really amazing releases that are really broad, and like you weren't doing any sort of like batch style or like regular schedule where it was like, it was just like.
It was a reflection of how I was living.
Yeah, and like
that was it.
These singular, these individual records, or maybe 2 or 3 at a time, sometimes would come out.
Yeah.
And not every one of them I would gravitate towards, but certain ones were just like, whoa, and huge, and like are still like some of the, biggest records from my development and in my collection. Can you tell me about the compilation and The Vultures Miss Nothing?
Oh Christ! Right, that's a good one. I pressed up the first album of that many years ago.
Triple LP.
It was a triple LP.
For those who aren't familiar, that it's a triple LP feature.
It's basically everybody at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some good tracks on it. There's a lot of work, and I pressed up one of the albums pressed, and it just sat in an attic for a long time.
Was it planned to be a single LP? Or
No, it was always going to be a triple LP, but it was just, I was naive. I thought I could get some money, but real life got in the way, and this thing just sat around forever. And it was, but I for some reason I kept these 500 copies of that. I think it was the first album, the one with MSBR and Condom on it. Mm-hmm. I kept that one.
What year roughly? Because
I honestly can't remember.
It came out, I think, in 2005.
I must have done the first one at 98, 99. Wow. It was first pressed, and I just moved this 5 boxes of 100 white vinyl records around, thinking I've got to fucking finish this off one day. Wow. And basically Dominic from Prurient was with me for a while. I mean, like, we were joking about this. I'm like, all right, fuck it. I was in a situation where I could just finish it off. So I pressed the rest in 2006 or whatever it was. Maybe before.
Maybe I'm mistaken, but I thought when I was looking at it the other day, it said it was released in 2005.
Okay, maybe 2000. It's many years ago to me. Yeah. But Dominic was quite a verbal commentator on that sort of thing, and so basically I just did the record, not the sleeve up.
What do you mean? Who's a verbal commentator?
No, he said, "Where's the fucking record? Will it ever come out?"
Oh, because he was on it. Prurient's on it.
No. He was just a fan.
As a fan. Okay,
as a fan, and there's a bit of a head on those sort of things. Mm-hmm. So I did the record, and I mean the booklets were already printed up. Again, many years ago.
So the whole thing was curated and put together back in the late 90s.
So mid-90s.
Mid-90s. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I've still got most of the old DATs and stuff as well. Wow. There's like an S-Core one that's got unreleased S-Core on it. Fact fans. I've still got most of those DATs and other bits and bobs. And so anyway, this record was done. I was just kind of there you go, it's out now, have a copy.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't make a massive effort to sell it, I don't think, because I mean, I wasn't even massively interested in what was on it at that point.
Yeah, I still feel like it was pretty low key.
Yeah, because I had like no great interest in it. Like
It still is very low key. Like the fact that it's a triple LP of some of the best and most sought after and whatever artists of the 90s.
Yeah, I mean it was low key, and I sold it really cheap as well. I've always been interested. If I want a record available, I want it cheaper than, not necessarily cheaper than everybody else's, but I want, somebody's got a tenner. Oh, I'll take that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to sell a 3LP thing for, God, you know, whatever. I mean, in the more recent years, I did the Harbinger Sound sampler that was a double LP that retailed at $3.99, which I think I made 15 pence profit. I mean, we pressed 8,000 of them.
8,000?
It was 8,000 of them, yeah.
Whoa.
And I've still got some left in boxes, you know. But I mean, on that compilation, it's right across the board.
Yeah.
It was reflecting the label at the time. There's everything from Tommy Colson to Chaos UK, you know, on one side. Steve Ignorant from Crass on another disc. It's right across the board, again, with my taste at the time. So we did this thing for £3.99.
Yeah.
Cargo distributed it. They couldn't keep it in their normal distribution warehouse because every time the record is pulled off the shelf, they're charged 25 pence. So the record will be losing 10p per time every time. It's kind of like a shit version of New Order's Blue Monday. Every time a record's being sent out, the label's losing money. So they had to keep it in their office. I went to their offices in Parsons Green, Fulham, and these boxes are all on the stairs, and you know, it's 8,000 records. I mean, I had a few delivered to my home address as well.
Yeah.
And I was, you know, mailing these things was pointless because there's no money. I'm not going to stand in a post office with a big pile of albums. So most of them just went through the proper distribution channels.
Yeah.
They were available in shops. You could go in a regular record shop, Piccadilly in Manchester, Rough Trade, Resident in Brighton, wherever, and you can probably still find this record, you can find this record in some shops still, but it's still like $3.99, which is, you know, I thought everybody can afford $3.99. It's cheaper than a cup of coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you can't afford that, you know, to take a punt on £4 basically.
Yeah.
And when it came out in the new releases at the weekend, when record shops go online, showed it was in there for $3.99. It was just kind of amusing. Yeah. And again, it's that.
That's a radical idea, though. In 2000, whatever.
In this day and age, But it's like you look at Faust tapes from 1970, whatever it was, retailed at 49p. So many labels were doing like cheap compilations. Cherry Red did one in like 82, 83, Pillars and Prayers, that retailed at 99 pence, I think, if I remember. And that record was in the independent charts for 2 years solid, simply because it was so cheap.
Yeah.
And you know, the range of stuff on there again was so diverse, and that was quite an influential record to me. Not for the audio aspect, just the fact, the business approach, the fact that, you know, it's going to be like the thing that you can't get rid of because there's so many of them. It's so cheap, and everywhere you go, it's going to be there. You were sick of seeing it, and it's kind of how it panned out.
Yeah.
And I was really pleased with that one.
That's awesome.
Although the distributor was a bit pissed off. Because he was making no money.
Right.
You know.
Vultures is probably also still around. I mean.
No, it's not. No. I mean, somebody asked me quite recently if I had a copy, and I don't even think I've got a copy myself anymore. I mean, I just unloaded, all my Harbinger archives. I gave away the metal plates for things, some of the artworks. You know, most went back to the source. Yeah. But I've still got, a few master tapes and bits and bobs. But these people, you know, are no longer with us, or they've since moved on.
Right.
And my own copies of like the really rare Harbinger stuff, like the Pain Jerk in the 3 kg metal box and stuff like that. It's all long gone.
Damn.
I thought, again, it's a record collector thing. I didn't want anybody to have a complete collection of Harbinger stuff. So if I've not got it, nobody else is going to have it.
Why is that?
I have no idea. It was just just being difficult, being an arsehole, really. But
what's your personal connection to Broken Flag.
Just a massively influential label. Again, I'm going back to people's tastes being varied, and I think Gary Mundy, given his career in bands and the stuff he does apart from the obvious, his tastes are diverse, broad, and that was reflected in the label. And also there's that whole like mystery. It's like you can get it through here and whatever. I mean, I missed out on the original Broken Flag stuff at the time. I mean, I knew of them, but I was more into bands like Bourbonese Quark, Nocturnal Emissions, On Community, stuff that labels like Cause for Concern were putting out. And so the Broken Flag stuff was kind of a weird one. I mean, I got the Return to Slavery album fairly early, and I was like blown away by it. Yeah. I mean, I'd heard White House prior, because I had the the United Dairies compilation, Hoisting the Black Flag, that had like the Lemon Kittens on it, the Truth Club, and the two White House tracks. And White House was supposed to be this like great noise, and I just heard this. Is that it? Yeah. So when I heard Return to Slavery, sometime I was just like, fucking hell. Yeah. It was like, the cliche about standing in the jet blast. It was a very unsettling record.
For the Patreon benefits with this episode, Steve has given me a couple copies of the RJF reissue LP, Greater Success in Apprehension and Convictions, and the Trerix Rosette, Christian Music von Rogsved. I'm giving away both of them on the Patreon, and this time, instead of the usual method of giving them away randomly, I want to prompt you to write something in order to decide who gets the records. Describe your most significant solitary listening experience with noise. I'll choose my favorite answers, and you'll get the LP of your choice. You have to submit the text through Patreon by Friday, June 23rd. Go to patreon.com/whitesandnoise for all the details. Now back to Steve.
To be honest, obviously I did the Hand of Glory 7-inch as a 12-inch.
Right.
And did that a couple of times, once with Dominic.
Yeah.
And I think it was myself and Gary.
Was that a decision because the original 7-inch was too packed onto the...
Oh, yeah. I mean, the cut's really, really quiet on it.
Yeah.
I think it's like 22 minutes or something, the whole EP.
Right.
I can't remember the exact at the moment.
For a 7-inch, that's crazy.
But I was in... I was touring with somebody, and I was up in Newcastle, a big arts venue, and I just received the test pressings for Hand of Glory, and I can remember playing it through the DJ booth, through the club PA, and it sounded fucking insane. It's one of the... it's stunning. There's a record like that. It's like...
That must have been a huge moment, because like that with the original one sounding so... Yeah. To be able to do that.
I mean, I really listened to the original 7, to be honest with you. It's really... I've got a couple of copies of it, but they just sit there. But the 12-inch version is pretty stunning.
Yeah. Awesome.
It's just able to do a deeper cut, and it's like, 45 RPM as well. It just really works.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think there's 500 copies of the original 7, but there's only maybe 200 copies or 300 of the 12. I think there's 100 that Dominic and myself did as the second time of the third variation. The second variation is the one that I did with Gary that we put out for when we went to New York for that comeback gig, as it were.
Right. That is relatively small pressing for such a...
Yeah.
Was that a reason for that? I mean, you guys probably could have made 2,000 or something.
Yeah, maybe, but I just can't remember for the life of me what the situation was at the time in terms of why we opted for that.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, I think it was because at that period I was doing a lot of sort of show-only records that were, you had to come to the show, the gig to get the record. I think I did a 7-inch with Carlos. I did a Hair Police album that was 100 copies. It depends who I was touring with or what I was doing. And it was there's a Prurient one that was 100 copies only. And a lot of these things were just deliberately done
for the show.
If you turned up for the show, you could get one, because I was doing next to no mail order or anything like that. So it seemed pointless looking 1,000 albums around for a couple of weeks. So 100 was fine, and most of them went fairly quick.
Right.
And
Right. For sure. I mean, and that, a Wake box set, the original is such a coveted item, and I'm sure at this point now also the CD version is similarly coveted.
I saw a copy in a record shop in London quite recently for about 150 quid, which is pretty amusing.
What did it go? I don't know what it went for back then, but it's pretty reasonable.
No, it was only about £50 maybe.
Yeah.
It was basically £5 a CD or whatever it was. I mean, the original cassette version sells for silly money, but the thing is, that actually just comes in this really cheap safe box. The sort of thing you would use on the door at a gig to put the
original.
Yeah. It's a really cheap box, and it sells for stupid money.
Yeah.
For like £500 or maybe more, I don't know.
How many do you have at home?
0.
With your label, when I started ordering from you from my label, you mentioned this a little bit before, it was largely distributed through Cargo, which is a professional record distributor. How did that come about, and what were some of the pros and cons of working with that kind of system?
There's plenty of both, to be honest. It came around through the As Loud As Possible magazine, and a guy working there, it wasn't Luke, it was somebody else, hooked me up with the guy that runs the place, and he's like, oh yeah, any records, we'll take those as well. So I managed to put a few records through Cargo, and then obviously the Sleaford Mods thing happened. Then they started bankrolling some of what I was putting out. So I mean, stuff like consumer electronics.
You live now in Hastings, right?
Yeah.
And run a record shop.
Kind of a record shop, yeah. It's not. I never see it as a proper record shop. It's more of a drop-in centre. But yeah, it is.
What does that mean, drop-in centre?
Yeah, it's people coming out to talk for a bit, then disappear. Then somebody else will come down and hang around and disappear. Nobody actually buys any records.
No.
No, they do. It's all right. We get lots of people coming.
Yeah.
I'll say lots. A few people coming.
Pressing Matters, it's called.
Yeah. It's basically two shops in one. I'm on one side with all the experimental and punk stuff and what have you. There's a guy called Mark who's on the other side who deals more in jazz and hip hop. He's a well-known DJ, hip hop producer.
Okay.
He's been around and involved for many years. He's one of the most knowledgeable guys I know on that subject.
Cool.
Which is not saying that many people know about anything about that, but he knows his stuff.
Yeah.
So we get a real kind of mixed bag. We don't get anybody coming to us looking for vanilla rock. It's all very much. I've got the people that come to me. These are the people who come to. We get random tourists coming. I mean, the last guy that came in before I left was asking for the Doors and Janis Joplin. I had to show him the door. It literally was like, there you go, mate. Wrong place. And it's quite blatantly obvious.
Yeah.
We're not doing the Doors or Janis Joplin.
Yeah.
But some people come out of interest, and I get a few regular people that buy stuff. Cool. And it's good. It's an interesting way, but I've kind of shut it down now for summer because I'm travelling around and focusing on other things for a few months. Yeah.
Do you see it something that will carry on in the future? And
I honestly, at this point, I don't know. It's quite a big commitment to sit in a basement for 3 days a week. It's okay. But I've just got too much of the stuff to do, and it's kind of suffering because I'm sat in this basement waiting for somebody to come through that door and just buy a record. And some days nobody walks through that door. And anybody that runs a shop will tell you the same.
Obviously, you're dealing with very specialized records for, there's a large fanatical collector community in the world, but what do you see as the potential with all the stuff that's going on nowadays with these, vinyl plants clogging the system up, pressing the Taylor Swift record, and people, I saw some articles saying that 50% of people who buy records or these new records don't have a turntable, don't listen to them. What do you see as like the longer term future of that format or physical media in general?
I think it's all being hyped up. I don't see a massive amount of sales on an actual physical product. I think it's sad, but I kind of think maybe it's running its course. I mean, they're so expensive getting more expensive to produce, more expensive to distribute, more expensive to retail. Especially in the more sort of professional world as well.
Yeah.
And I just think the prices are alienating a lot of people. There's more important stuff for people. I was in a shop a couple of days ago, just like a regular new releases sort of bullshit thing, and I was looking at something, I can't remember what, but it was sort of like €52.99, double LP. I could buy an original for €30.
Exactly. I'm amazed by that. I just saw a friend who has a record store in the US posting new arrivals, and the sticker was on there for some Wu-Tang reissue or something. For like $45, and people complain about underground records. I mean, it's fair price. Priced around. Once it gets over 20, it's like, oh, it's pretty expensive. I see, but the new records, are people buying those records? Brand new records for...
I don't think... you can say it's like I've got this little conspiracy theory that I think the Warners and the Universals and the Sonys of the world are pushing these prices up to alienate people, so they go to the digital platform, and then eventually they'll stop doing the vinyl. Everybody's moved to digital. I mean, of course, there's still going to be people putting out a little noise 7-inch here and there.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know what the long-term thing is, but I really think that the majors are trying to alienate people away from buying vinyl.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's...
And pushing
it wouldn't be that expensive of a investment for them.
No, of course. It's maximum gain on for minimum import.
Yeah.
Just upload something, and
Yeah.
thousands of youngsters or people are out there buying all their stuff online.
Yeah.
Or paying to stream it online, not actually physically owning anything.
Yeah. That's a sad future, I think, honestly.
It sounds like a conspiracy theory nutcase thing, but
it's reasonable. It's not. I mean, we know Amazon has done that similar thing with
Amazon
destroying markets and
they've pushed people out.
In Hastings, there's been some talk on the noise forums that I frequent about Hastings, the magic of Hastings. This same guy, Duncan Harrison, was going kind of waxing poetic about its some special thing about Hastings. What is he talking about?
It's full of fruitcake. No, it's just a very I think it's a very unique sort of place. It's a faded British seaside town that has a couple of distinct areas. There's the old town where you get a lot of the more eccentric characters. There's a new town that's really run down. Then you have the St Leonard's side, which is where a lot of the moneyed up Londoners who sell their houses for big money come and buy somewhere 5 times the size for a fraction. Then they can live the life of Riley for a couple of years. Well, it's a mad place. It's not contrived. It's not as hectic as somewhere like Brighton, where people go to try and be cool or try and... I'm not putting down everybody in Brighton, obviously, but Brighton's just... It's just not as interesting. But there's other places on the south coast that people sort of navigate to as well. Margate or places like that. But they're just not as interesting as Hastings. Hastings has got a really strange vibe, I guess. I sound like some more hippie nutter.
But what is? I mean, I've heard David Tibbett lives in.
Hastings, he lives in the old town.
What is this magic that?
I guess in his case, maybe Alistair Crowley. I mean, after Crowley...
Crowley was from Hastings.
Yeah, he lived there until his final days. And apparently he put a curse on the town. If you move there, you never leave. That sort of...
Okay.
I mean, I've never read him since I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I can't remember what the stories are. But when he died, the local council refused to cremate him or bury him. He had to go to Brighton for his funeral.
Because they didn't want
the
pilgrimage.
The black magic hanging over them. And there's still a lot of people with a bit of a Crowley fixation down there.
Yeah. Cool. You see yourself? Is that your spot now? Are you cursed to stay there?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah?
Maybe, yeah. The curse of Harry Potter is hanging over me.
Are you open to reissuing or having reissued some of the stuff that you've done in Harbinger and really limited, like the Lathes?
I mean, I think that some of it has been done.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think the Contagious Orgasm album was reissued as a CD, maybe.
Okay.
I'm surprised nobody's done the Prurient album. Some of the more punk stuff has been done.
Okay.
You know, like the Slugfuckers.
So you're not opposed to it?
Oh, absolutely not. No, if somebody wants to, it's not my say so. You know, to talk to the band. You know.
Right.
I think the Stormbugs thing's been reissued again. Yeah, I think a lot. Well, I say a lot. Some of it has been done. Maybe not so much the noise stuff. Was the Moti stuff reissued?
I wonder if there's the Motive box, which is great.
I've got that, but I've not.
I don't know if you're.
I've not actually listened to it. Sorry.
I know
I should do.
I don't think the Harbinger release is on there.
Oh, okay. That's...
From memory.
Yeah, well, I've probably still got the tape of that amongst my master's box. I mean, a lot of them I tried to return to people. Well, you know, I mean, he disappeared for a few years, didn't he?
Yeah.
He's back now. He's doing
there.
stuff again. Yeah. Nice guy. I met him in Tokyo.
Yeah?
Yeah, many years ago, yeah.
Cool.
So, like 99, so like last time I was there. But,
I'd love to meet him. I'd love to interview him.
eventually
I want to get a...
It was a great gig, actually. It was like Crack Fierce. What's the Crack?
Crack Steel?
Crack Steel, yeah. Moti. Yeah, there's a lot of people.
I wonder if that was... I wonder if Jason Kushner...
No, it was Koji.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
It was
okay.
a Koji thing, yeah.
Cool.
There's this place, the Human Dog Art Bar, which always sticks in my memory for some reason.
Cool.
I just remember walking up the stairs with these amplifiers and stuff, then the guy in the restaurant bit downstairs just turning his sign around to close. I don't know if that was coincidental or he knew what was about to be unleashed. But it was pretty good.
Was there any conscious thought about one of the last releases in Harbinger being the Trerix Rosette LP from Tommy Carlson, which is, I mean... That's like a return to the... That's like a return to Pain Jerk, you know?
Yeah,
that's
this was going for...
Yeah.
You know, I think we had a discussion yesterday where I thought that record was pretty much... Maybe... I don't think it was the last one I did, but it was pretty close.
Yeah.
And I just think, okay, it's come full circle, and doing anything else just felt a bit unnecessary. I mean, as we said before, that is such a fucking stunning record.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to follow that with?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I was just like, it's a great record.
Yeah.
I could have done a reissue of something else, maybe, by somebody else. But there's so many people reissuing and repackaging things. That's covered.
Yeah.
There's so many people putting out newer, younger artists.
Yeah.
That's covered.
Yeah.
I kind of, I've been just drifted off into being obsolete, and that's fine. Absolutely fine.
I don't know if that's true, but well.
No, I'm absolutely happy with it. Just to be.
Yeah.
I mean, as I said as well the other day, it's just like I've got very little of the actual finished releases, the limited editions. I've given away a lot of it, sold a few bits and bobs, and the really limited stuff because it ran its course. It's finished.
Yeah.
And some people need to know when to stop. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't know when to stop. So,
but you're not stopping, are you?
I'm not stopping with some stuff, but Harbinger Sound as a label is it's dead and buried. It's fine. It's done.
Yeah.
Maybe in 20 years somebody might want to write a book about it. That's fine. Don't ask me.
In putting out the Trerix Rosette record, you put him on stage then in front of. You had him open for Sleaford Mods, right?
In Sweden, yeah.
Right.
Too much bemusement and people leaving the room.
Well, I mean that's such a good thing.
He actually played
a
a couple of shows with Sleaford's, one in Belgium as well.
Yeah.
Where we had like Junko from Hydro Kaiden doing a vocal piece. A couple of more traditional rock bands. Vortex Campaign from Belgium. They also played. There's we had the Lewis Form, the hardcore band from London playing. Well, actually, no, they didn't play because one of them couldn't make it, but they were there in person, just helping themselves to the rider. What else? Yeah, there's just a lot of things. We have Stormbugs playing as well. Somewhat.
How does that go over when you force one type of extreme music on the audience who's expecting something else?
In my head, and probably maybe a bit naively, I kind of anticipated that a percentage would like it and appreciate it. Of course, it's a given that some are going to hate it. I mean, the Junko thing, people were just like, what the fuck is this? I mean, I thought it was amazing. Great light show, a fantastic professional PA system, and you put some Junko through a PA system that's, as opposed to like some shitty pub system or something. It makes a massive. It was piercing. I bet. It was one of the shrilliest piercing things I've ever heard. That was fantastic. And some people like it, some don't. It could have been the same with putting a rock band on. Some like it, some don't. It's I don't think I was massively not challenging people. It wasn't a deliberate challenge. It's like, I've got this opportunity to put what I'm into in front of people. If we had gone to Japan on my watch, I would have tried to get pain jerking incapacitants to open. Just because.
Right. Exactly.
It was just an option to do things. We had Tommy played a couple of shows. Neutral played in Sweden. Consumer Electronics played on a few bills. Mark Durgan did some stuff. The Spoils and Relics lot did a bunch of stuff. I mean, there's John Sissy Spacek. We toured Sissy Spacek around for the Netherlands and Belgium.
Cool.
For a week.
Cool.
They were doing like an 8-minute set.
Was it their grind?
There was a grind. There was duo at the time, John and Charlie, I think. It was they played like 4 or 5 gigs. And I remember we were at the Milky Way in Amsterdam, which is a fairly big venue. And I can remember I was filming the set for John, and I can remember this guy in front of me losing his fucking shit. Like, this is the best thing he's ever seen. And it's like, and then he went on for like 8 minutes. It was ludicrous. But people were loving it. So I think
that's God's work, man. I think that's really great to have that chance and to have those chances and
it's no different to what like Sonic Youth were doing years ago. Morpho Genesis or Sutcliffe Eugen not in front of, or Prick Decay in front of a bunch of people. I'm sure other artists have done it as well.
But I think it should always be done when you can. I think it's.
I mean, the chance was there, so the chance. It was there. It was an option. So I thought, fuck it, I'll do it. Even go back to those early gigs. They were doing a lot of gigs on like the DIY noise sort of circuit as well. So it's not like it was a massive leap.
Right.
And I'm sure they now completely disown all that, and but I'm not allowed to talk about them. So. Otherwise, the lawyers will be on my case.
Crazy, man. One thing I haven't asked you is, you're managing. You're so involved in music. Have you ever made music yourself, or noise, or anything like that?
No.
Not at all.
No. I've had spots on people's records, but only as like helping out while pressing a button or hitting something, or but nothing that's notable. Nothing that's.
Never on stage?
It's nothing. I've been on stage a couple of times, but it's nothing that's worth cataloguing. Let's put it that way. Yeah. I'm not comfortable being on a stage. It's just not. It's not for me. I just don't like the idea. I think you have to have a certain attitude to be able to walk on stage. A bit of necessary bravado or whatever. I mean, I'm sure I could do it, but. I don't want to. There's too many people on stages, so one less is always good.
Well, Steve.
Hopefully that's given you what you want to know.
It definitely has. Is there anything else you can add or would like to add or let people know about before we conclude?
Not really, no.
Things coming up.
I think we mentioned before, it's like there's a couple of books in the pipeline that I can't massively talk about yet, because they are confirmed and they are underway, but the promotion hasn't started. They're going through a proper publisher, and so there's all the promotional bullshit that goes with that. And there's a book on German experimental post-punk music. There's a book on Neubauten with Alexander Harker. There's a few bits here and there coming up that are quite exciting. So there's a couple of compilation records that I'm sort of got my paws into. Luckily, somebody else is bankrolling.
Any live events?
At this point, no. But that said, I've actually been talking to somebody in Hastings about doing a 2-day thing, and we've kind of agreed on a format and a way to do this. And there will be noise people on that bill, I guess. We have a proposed list of who we're looking at, and I've got a couple of confirmations from people already that definitely want to come and play Dark Town. And it will be quite it will be like punk experimental noise, sound poetry, and whatever, a lot of similar sort of stuff. But it will be a couple of hardcore bands and stuff as well. It will be quite a mixed bag. I actually forgot all about that when I was talking to you earlier.
Do you have a rough time frame?
No. There's a couple of festivals in Hastings that happen. In fact, there's a lot of festivals that happen, but music ones, and we want to try and avoid any sort of clash. So we're waiting for these guys to sort out what they're doing, and then we'll figure some way in.
Is it like a next year thing, or is it like a few years kind of thing?
Oh yeah. I mean, when we first discussed this, it was actually supposed to be this year. Okay. But it's probably going to be next year or even the year after that, depending on the two headliners, diaries. There you go. I'm actually I kind of wanted to tie into the shop, but with the shop being closed for a while, it just seems a bit silly at the moment. So when the shop kind of picks up and relaunches, it will make sense to do it then.
Okay. Pilgrimage to the dark town.
It'll be a good one. Yeah, I mean, so I could say we've got a lot of people down there who've been involved in stuff for many years. These people aren't going away.
Yeah.
And or am I, sadly?
Well, I'm looking forward. Maybe I'll have the chance to come to Hastings. There's a lot of interesting travel opportunities in the next. I mean, there's the Hospital Fest with Nuclear War now in Japan, which I think.
Yeah, they're doing it in Japan, aren't they? That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Everyone's like, "We're going to Japan! Like, where do you have tickets?" So Hastings would be another destination.
It's probably more alien than Japan to most people.
Cool. Well, thank you, Steve.
Oh no,
I really appreciate it.
Pleasure, man.
All right.
In the extended segments of this interview, Steve talks about the pros and cons of working with a major record distributor, the Sleaford Mods records he released, social media, and bootlegs, as well as his top 5 noise and experimental records of all time. You can see all that and much more at patreon.com/whitesandepicnoise. Thank you for your support.